Today we will see what is quaternion. You have seen complex numbers. Okay, what is a complex number? Complex number is a number that consists of both a real part and a imaginary part. Okay, the real part is say A, the imaginary part is say B. Then the complex number is denoted by A plus IB, I standing for the imaginary part. Okay, now this quaternion is an extension of complex numbers. Okay, so say you can write a number as A plus BI plus CJ plus DK. Okay, then it is called as a quaternion. You can imagine that this part B, okay, maybe it's being split into 3 components corresponding to your X, Y, and Z axis. Okay, so this complex number A plus IB is now being written as A plus BI, corresponding to say the X axis, J corresponding to the component along the Y axis, and D corresponding to the component along the Z axis. So a quaternion is an extension of the 2-dimensional complex numbers. Now this quaternion A plus BI plus CJ plus DK is written as A, B, C, D within square brackets. Okay, A corresponding to the real part, B, C, D corresponding to the 3 components I, J, K. Now, what are the properties that are satisfied by these quaternions? Okay, sometimes these quaternions satisfy the following identities. These are known as Hamilton's rules. Okay, I squared. This is the same what we have seen in with a complex number. I into I is -1. Okay, so our I we have defined in complex number as I equal to root of -1. Okay, this is just an extension of the same thing. I square equal to J square equal to K square equal to -1. Okay, same way I into J is equal to minus J into I, that is the direction is changing now. Okay, equal to K. Okay, and J into K equal to minus K into J equal to I. Okay, now K into I equal to minus I into K equal to J. Okay, so these are the identities that are followed by quaternions. Quaternion, usually you get short notes wherein you have to put in the properties of the quaternions, the definition, etc. Okay, yeah. So next we see how we add 2 quaternions. Okay, suppose A and B are 2 quaternions defined by A equal to A1 plus A2I plus A3J plus A4K, and B equal to B1 plus B2I plus B3J plus B4K. Then the sum of A and B, the 2 quaternions, is given by, you add the corresponding components. So that is A1 plus B1 plus A2 plus B2 into I plus A3 plus B3 into J plus A4 plus B4 into K. Okay, so the sum of the 2 quaternions is given by the sum of the corresponding parts. Next, we see how product or multiplication is done. Okay, you follow this multiplication table. Okay, 1 I, J, K. Okay. So 1 into 1 is 1, 1 into I is I, etc. Okay, I into 1 is 1, I into I is -1. We have already seen I square is -1. Okay, I into J is K. This also we have seen. I into K is minus J. This is corresponding to the identities that we get this table. Okay, now when you go to multiply, the two quaternions. Okay, the product of two quaternions A and B is given by this formula. Okay, A1 B1 minus A2 B2 minus A3 B3 minus A4 B4. That is your constant part or the real part. The imaginary part A1 B2 plus A2 B1 plus A3 B4 minus A4 B3, the whole thing into I and so on. Okay, this seems to be very large, but then we will see an easier representation for this product or multiplication. Okay. So right now, this is a formula that is used for quaternions. We have an alternate representation for this quaternion. We have said that A equal to A1 plus A2I plus A3J plus A4K. Okay. Now this part being the imaginary part or the vector part, and this is the real part. Okay, so we can write this quaternion as a pair of a scalar part and a vector part. Okay, the scalar part is nothing but A1 here, and the vector part is this one. Okay, A2I plus A3J plus A4K. Okay, so that is what we are representing this within square brackets. Okay, so a quaternion alternately can be represented by the scalar part and the vector part. Okay, now what is the advantage of this? We will see. Now multiplication, we saw we had this huge formula. Okay, instead if we use in this scalar vector form, we can easily do the multiplication of two quaternions Q1, Q2 defined by S1, V1, S2, V2 as S1 into S2. This is a scalar part. Okay, S1 is a scalar quantity, S2 is a scalar quantity. So this is a normal multiplication. Next, minus V1 dot V2. Okay, V1 is a vector, V2 is a vector. Now V1 dot V2 is the dot product or the scalar product. So the scalar part is given by S1 into S2 minus V1 dot V2. Okay, now the vector part is given by S1 into V2 plus S2 into V1 plus V1 cross V2. Okay, now these are all the vector components. Okay, each one of them is a vector, and so you will end up with a vector. Okay, so Q1 dot Q2 we can write by using this formula, or we can calculate using this formula. Okay. Now, though this seems to be difficult, I know we generally, once we look at vectors, we get the apprehension, oh, I have to do dot product, cross product, etc. It is a bit difficult for us, but then when you go to hardware, we have very good hardware systems. Very good, when I say, it means hardware which can accurately calculate and hardware which can do the computations at a very fast rate. Okay, so we have such hardware available with us, and so it is easy for us to calculate, to do this multiplication. Okay, that is a cross product and the vector product. Where do we use these quaternions? Why are we studying them when we are doing graphics? Okay, they are very useful in a number of computer graphics procedures, including generation of fractal objects. What is a fractal object? One such object is what we have seen in the lab. That is the Sierpinski gasket. Okay, you see that the same component is getting repeated over and over again, and we get a beautiful picture at the end. Okay, or in a simpler object is Sierpinski triangle. Okay, you have equilateral triangle, see, and you take the midpoints of the three sides, you join them, you get a triangle, you get a figure like this. Okay, that is one equilateral triangle gets divided into 4 equilateral triangles. Okay, suppose you repeat the process for each of the outer triangles, that is this triangle, and this triangle. Then you get this figure. Okay, now if you go to repeat the same procedure for each of the 3 end triangles here, so you get 1, 2, 3, you repeat. Again, you repeat the same thing for these 3 triangles, and you repeat it for these 3 triangles. That is this, and this. You will end up with this figure. Okay. You again repeat for each of these, you will get this figure and so on. Okay, that is a simple design. Okay, is being repeated and you get a beautiful picture at the end. Okay, this is the basis of your fractal geometry. Okay, that is, you have the property of self-symmetry in that. In producing such figures, quaternions are very useful. Okay, we'll see another example of a quaternion. You see this tree. Okay, all that this is made up of is, one second. That is it. Okay, this is the only figure that is drawn here. Okay, you see that you get this, right? Yeah. Okay, this is one. Okay, now you draw a smaller version of this here. Okay, so the 2 split ends, you are drawing this. Now you get 4 split ends. At the 4 split ends, again you repeat the same drawing. You get 8 split ends. At the 8 split ends, again you draw. Okay, just repeating the simple diagram, you have got this beautiful tree-like picture or a bow picture. Okay, so this is your fractal geometry. Okay, so in creating such fractal geometric figures, quaternions are very useful. Next, quaternions require less storage space than 4x4 matrices. Okay, 4x4 matrices, you know, they take 16 spaces, whereas here quaternions take very less space. And they give you a very efficient method for generating a rotation about an arbitrary selected axis. Okay, 2 classes before, we have seen how to rotate an object about an arbitrary axis. Okay, the whole class we went on doing. Okay, we rotated it about the z-axis, so that, sorry, first we rotated the axis, we translated the axis so that the axis, one end point fell on the origin. Then we rotated it about the z-axis so that it falls on the xy plane, and then we rotated it so that it falls along the z-axis, and so on. Okay, so we did a set of a sequence of transformations. Okay, all that, those calculations, and we did that huge calculation of calculating the alpha, beta, etc. Okay, that entire process can be reduced when we use a quaternion. We'll just see how it is. Okay, the rotation about any axis passing through the coordinate origin is obtained by the quaternion Q equal to S comma V. Okay, say U is the unit vector along the arbitrary axis that is passing through the origin. Then you can give the rotation quaternion, the quaternion after rotation, as S comma V, where S is cos theta by 2. Now what is theta? Theta is the angle of rotation. Okay, for any rotation you need 3 points. Okay, one, the axis of rotation, the point of rotation, and the angle of rotation. Okay, the point of rotation here is the origin. Axis of rotation is U. U is the unit vector along the axis of rotation, and theta is the angle of rotation. Okay, always angle we take in the anti-clockwise direction. Okay, if that is the case, the rotated quaternion is given by S comma V. S is the scalar part, which is given by cos theta by 2, the value cos theta by 2. And V is the vector part, which is sine theta by 2 into U. Okay, that is, the magnitude is sine theta by 2, direction is along the rotation axis U. Okay, so this is the rotated quaternion that we get. So for any point to be rotated by this quaternion, okay, say the point P is your x, y, z. Okay, the coordinates of the point P is x, y, z. Then the point P can be represented by the quaternion P equal to 0 comma P. Okay, so yeah, the scalar part is 0, vector part is represented by the coordinate x, y, z. Now, when you go to rotate this, okay, about the origin, you get P dash equal to Q into P into Q to the power of minus 1. Okay, Q is the quaternion S comma V. Okay, now Q inverse, Q to the power of minus 1 is Q inverse. Okay, the scalar part remains the same. The vector part reverses the direction, that is minus V. Okay. So the transformed quaternion is given by P dash equal to 0 into 0 P dash. Okay, where P dash is given by the formula S square P. What is S? S is the scalar part of the quaternion S comma V. Okay, we are after rotation of the point P by angle theta. Okay, the quaternion you get is Q S comma V. So for the rotated point, the quaternion is P dash. Okay, that is given by 0 comma P dash, small p dash, where P dash is S square into P. S is the scalar part. Okay, S square into P plus V into P dot V. Okay, this is again the dot product. This is the cross product. And again, cross product of the cross product. Okay, so this is the formula that we get. Yeah, for us to remember, it's difficult, but then since we have very efficient hardware, it is very easy to calculate this value. So now the transformation P dash equal to Q into P into Q inverse is equivalent to what you had done, R theta equal to T inverse into Rx minus 1 of Rx inverse alpha, Ry, that is rotation about y-axis inverse by beta into Rz theta. This is what we have done 2-3 classes before when we did rotation about an arbitrary axis. Okay, this is the set of transformations that we got. Okay, or for rotation, we got these 5 rotations to be done. Okay, as a sequence we said. Okay. Now, instead of this entire thing, we have this to be calculated. Okay. Now, the rotation part, transformation matrix, can be written as MR theta. In quaternion form, it can be written as 1 minus 2b square. Now, what is ABC? The vector part V. Okay. The transformed quaternion, say you have the scalar part as S and the vector part as V. We know that V has got I component, J component, K component. Okay, so A, B, C. Okay, so I component is A, J component is B, and K component is C. Then your MR theta, or the rotation matrix, is given by 1 minus 2b square minus 2c square, 2ab minus 2sc. S is the scalar part, scalar value, and 2AC plus 2SB. Okay, the second row is 2AB plus 2SC, 1 minus 2A square minus 2C square, 2BC minus 2SA, 2AC minus 2SB, 2BC plus 2SA, 1 minus 2A square minus 2B square. Okay, now here you know that the vector part can be written in terms of the rotation angle. That is, this vector V is given by sine theta by 2. We have already seen. Okay, and S is cos theta by 2. Suppose I apply this here, and you know that cos square theta by 2 minus sine square theta by 2 is cos theta. Okay, again from trigonometric ratios we know this. Okay, and cos theta can also be written as 1 minus 2 sine square theta by 2. Also sine theta is 2 cos theta by 2 sine theta by 2. Okay, suppose I substitute all this into this equation, then I will get my mr theta as ux square into 1 minus cos x. Okay, what is ux? That is the component, the x component of corresponding to this unit vector u. Okay, and uy is the y component of the unit vector u, and uz is the z component along the unit vector u. Okay, so the vector along the u axis, okay, is now divided into 3 components: ux, uy, uz. That's it. Okay, so that can be written as mr theta equal to this entire thing. Okay, so this formula that you have, okay, the matrix mr theta can be reduced to this form. Now this is only the rotation part. Okay, for the entire transformation you need to do T inverse, that is translation inverse. You are rotating the point, translating the point to the origin. Okay, that one. This is your rotation part, and this is again rotating the axis back to the point, reference point. Okay, T. So this gives you the rotation about the arbitrary axis in terms of quaternions. Okay, since we are able to do the vector and the vector operations easily, quaternions are used here.